He was always a burden for us, my stepdad said, and asked my mom to kick me out, and she hesitated. I said, seriously? Then I left. A week later my phone exploded with calls. Living with my stepfather was hell from the start. My mom married him a few years after my dad died, and I could tell right away he was a selfish, manipulative loser. But she was convinced that no one else would love her, so she let him walk all over her. He had a daughter from a previous marriage, my so-called half-sister, and she was just as bad as he was. Spoiled, entitled, and obsessed with getting what she wanted, even if it meant making my life miserable. It was always small things at first. My stepfather dropping hints about how I was old enough to be on my own. How it was unfair that I was taking up so much space in the house. My half-sister whining that she deserved a bigger room, my room. My mother shrugging it all off as if it were harmless. But I knew where this was going. And then dinner happened. We were sitting at the table, the usual awkward silence hanging over us, when my half-sister suddenly grinned and said, "Dad, Charles made me uncomfortable earlier." I froze. She had hit on me earlier in the day. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich when she came way too close, touched my arm and made some disgusting comment about how it wouldn't be so bad if we got together. I told her to back off. She pouted and stormed off, and I thought that was the end of it. But now she turned the story around to make it look like I was the one being inappropriate. My stepfather turned to my mother and said, "Listen, he's really a burden to us. He's 18 years old and he can't even rent his own apartment. Let's kick him out." I expected my mom to shut him down immediately. I expected her to say, "No, he's my son." But instead she sat there and thought. "I don't know," she said. I stared at her, completely dumbfounded. "Seriously? You're hesitating to kick me out of the house Dad paid for?" Silence. I couldn't take it. I stood up and left the table. I heard my stepfather say something smug behind me, but I didn't care. I went straight to my room and started packing. If my own mother wasn't going to fight for me, then I wasn't staying. And that's when my half-sister walked in. She was leaning against the door, arms folded, a victorious grin on her face. "Finally," she said, "this big room is mine." I clenched my fists. "If your father were alive, you could stay." She actually said that. With a smile. I almost hit her. I swear to God I almost did. But instead I just pointed at the door and told her to get out before I actually lost control. She saw the look in my eyes and left in a hurry. The next morning I walked out the door with 2 suitcases. My stepfather was standing on the porch waving like he was saying goodbye to an old friend. My mother stood next to him without saying a word. Not even a goodbye. I had nowhere to go. No real plan. Just 2 suitcases, a little money from my part-time job, and the crushing realization that my own mother had chosen her husband over me. I could have stayed with a friend for a night or 2, but I needed something more stable. There was only one person who could really help Uncle Rick, my dad's brother. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. After my dad died, my mom slowly distanced herself from his side of the family. She never said it outright, but I knew my stepfather didn't like her. He liked to be in control, and my dad's family reminded him that he was just a substitute. I stood at the bus stop, staring at my phone, debating whether to call. Finally, I dialed his number. "Charles?" He sounded surprised. I swallowed. "Yeah. Hey, I need some help." There was a pause, then his voice hardened. "Where are you?" "Bus stop on Maple." "Stay put. I'll be there in 20. He pulled up in his truck exactly 20 minutes later. He didn't ask any questions, just got out and grabbed one of my suitcases and threw it in the back like it weighed nothing. Once we were in the truck, he finally spoke. "Your mom?" I nodded. "Stepdad wanted me out." She didn't argue. Uncle Rick clenched his jaw. He didn't say anything else, just turned into the street and headed for his house. When we got there, Aunt Barbara was already at the door, her arms crossed, her expression tense. I thought something like this might happen, she said. Come in. We sat down at the kitchen table and I told them everything. How my stepfather had been pushing me to leave for months. How my half-sister kept making things worse. How my mother had hesitated when told to throw me out. I saw Aunt Barbara shake her head and mutter something to herself. Uncle Rick just sat there listening, his fingers tapping on the table. Then he asked, "Whose house is this?" I frowned. My mom, I guess? No, he said. Who actually owns it? I didn't understand what he was getting at. My dad bought the house years ago, but after he died, I assumed it went to my mom. Uncle Rick stood up, walked over to a file cabinet, and pulled out a folder. He threw it on the table in front of me. Your dad wasn't stupid. He made sure this house would go to you when you turned 18. That means it's yours now. I just stared at the folder. My head was spinning. Wait, what? Aunt Barbara leaned in. Legally, you own this house. Your stepfather? Your mother? They have no real claim to it. I was too stunned to speak. You don't have to let them kick you out. Uncle Rick continued. They're the ones who don't belong there. The idea hit me like a freight train. I had been kicked out of my own home, except it wasn't just my home. It was my home. You lived there because my dad left it for me. Aunt Barbara touched my arm. Listen, honey. You don't have to make a decision right now, but you should think about it. You have the right to take back what's yours. I swallowed hard. How would that even work? Uncle Rick grinned. You tell them to leave. And if they don't, we make them. The idea of taking back the house felt surreal. I had spent so much time feeling powerless, watching my stepfather manipulate my mother, watching my half-sister walk all over me. And now I had a chance to turn the tables. I was silent for a long time. Then I looked up at my uncle. You would help me? All the way, he said without hesitation. Aunt Barbara nodded. But we do this smart. No drama, no yelling. Just business. I nodded, still trying to take it all in. But deep inside, a fire was starting to burn. I wasn't going to let them win. A week later, I sent my mom a text, "You have 1 week to get out of my house." 30 minutes later, my phone exploded. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Call after call, all from my mother. I let it go to voicemail at first, just watching the screen light up over and over again. Then the text started. Charles, call me now. We need to talk. What is this nonsense? You can't be serious. I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. It felt unreal, like I'd set something in motion that couldn't be undone. Then another call came through. I don't know why I answered it, but I did. The moment I answered, my mother's voice exploded through the speaker. What do you think you're doing? I didn't say anything. Charles, I am your mother, she yelled. You can't just, this is our home. You can't tell us to leave. I took a deep breath. It's not your home. It's mine. There was a moment of silence, then she scoffed. Oh, so now you're going to act like a landlord? Like you're some big man who owns the place? It's not acting, I said. It's a fact. She let out a bitter laugh. Listen, I don't know what your uncle told you, but this is my husband's house now. We're not going anywhere. That's when I realized she had no idea. She really thought my stepfather had some kind of legal claim to the house. I kept my voice calm. It was Dad's house. And when he died, it went to me. Not you. Not him. You have 1 week to leave or I'll have you evicted. Her voice dropped to a deeper, more desperate tone. Charles, darling, please. Be reasonable. I felt something twist in my stomach. For a second, a small part of me wanted to believe that she cared. That she was afraid of losing her home, not just angry that I was finally standing up for myself. But then I remembered her silence at dinner. How she just sat there while her husband told her to throw me out. You had your chance to be reasonable, I said. Now you have a week. I hung up. Uncle Rick leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching me. Well? I exhaled. She says they're not leaving. He nodded, as if he expected that answer. Then we'll do this the hard way. Aunt Barbara had already pulled up the lawyer's number on her phone. Let's get started. I didn't know exactly what would happen next, but one thing was clear. My mother had made her decision. Now I was making mine. The next morning, I woke up to 20 missed calls and a long, rambling text from my mom. She had gone through all the stages: denial, anger, bargaining, guilt. It was almost impressive how quickly she went through them. Charles, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you have to stop this. We are your family. You don't just throw your family out on the street. This is all because of Rick, isn't it? He's poisoning your mind against us. He's always hated me. Your stepfather has been nothing but good to you. You have to be grateful. He gave you a roof over your head when your father left us. This part actually made me laugh. Left us? My father died. I had to read it again to make sure I wasn't imagining it. That's how twisted her thinking had become. She had rewritten reality to make my father seem like the bad guy. I ignored the message and went downstairs where Uncle Rick was already on the phone with his lawyer. He was moving things along quickly. Within a few days, the official eviction notice would be served, and if they didn't leave voluntarily, we'd get the courts involved. But my mom had other plans. That afternoon, my phone rang again. This time it was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated but answered. Hello, is this Charles? A man's voice said. Yes. Who's this? My name is Officer Daniels. I'm with the county police. I have a report here from your mother. She says you threatened her and tried to steal her house. I felt the blood drain from my face. Excuse me? She says you've been sending her aggressive messages, demanding that she and her husband leave their home. She also says you've made threats of violence. I clenched my jaw so tight it hurt. That's a lie. I'm just calling to get your side of the story, the officer said. His voice was calm, but I could tell he didn't quite believe her story. Would you mind explaining what's going on? I took a deep breath. This house is legally mine. My father left it to me when he died. My mom and her husband live there, but now that I'm 18, I want my house back. I sent her a text message telling her they had 1 week to leave. That's it. I never threatened anyone. There was a brief silence. Then he sighed. Listen, son. This sort of thing happens all the time: family squabbles, inheritance dramas. Unless she has actual proof of threats, there's nothing we can do on our end. But I'll tell you this, she's trying to play dirty. No kidding. Just be careful. If she escalates this, it could turn into a real legal mess. After I hung up, I told Uncle Rick what had happened. He didn't even look surprised. Classic move. She knows she can't win legally, so now she's trying to make you look like the bad guy. Aunt Barbara scoffed. That woman has some nerve. I was still processing what had just happened when my phone buzzed with another message, this time from my half-sister. You're really doing this? Fine. Just know you have no idea what's coming. I had no idea what that meant. But I was about to find out. And it was worse than I could have ever imagined. I didn't have to wait long to find out what my half-sister meant. The very next day, Uncle Rick got a call from his attorney. Your mother's husband just filed a lawsuit against you, he told me. I blinked. A lawsuit? For what? Wrongful eviction. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But they don't even own the house. The lawyer sighed. Doesn't matter. He's claiming that since he's lived there for years, he has tenants' rights and can't be evicted without due process. I stared at him. Tenants' rights? He's not paying rent. He's not a tenant. Uncle Rick let out a deep chuckle. Kid, you're dealing with a crook. He knows exactly what he's doing. The lawyer continued. Don't worry. This is a desperate move. He's just trying to stall for time. We'll take care of it. I should have expected something like this. My stepfather never worked a real job for long. He always found ways to leech off people. And now he was trying to leech off of me. But that wasn't the worst of it. I got another call that afternoon. This one was from my old boss. I used to work part-time at a coffee shop before my stepfather kicked me out. The manager, Dave, was a decent guy, so I was surprised when his name came up. "Hey, Charles," he said. "Listen, man, are you okay?" I frowned. Yeah? Why?" "Well, I wasn't sure if I should call you about this, but your stepdad came in here today. With your mom." I sat up straight. "What?" "They told everyone that you stole from them. That you're trying to kick them out of their house." My grip on my phone tightened. "You're kidding." Dave sighed. "I wish I was. They made a scene, Charles. Said you were a greedy, ungrateful kid who turned on his own family. I threw them out, but not before some of the customers heard. Just wanted you to know." I clenched my jaw. I could barely think straight. First the fake police report. Now this? I hung up the phone and told Uncle Rick and Aunt Barbara. Aunt Barbara was furious. "They're trying to ruin your name before you can fight back." Uncle Rick nodded. "This is classic manipulation. They want to spin the story so you look like the villain." I ran a hand through my hair. "How do we stop them?" Uncle Rick grinned. "We don't. We let them continue to dig their own grave. And then we bury them in it." I didn't know exactly what he meant. But I was about to find out. And this time we weren't just playing defense. We were about to hit back hard. If my stepfather thought he could twist the story and turn people against me, he seriously underestimated how much dirt Uncle Rick had on him. The next morning, Uncle Rick handed me a folder. "It's time to fight back," he said. I opened it, and my jaw nearly dropped. Inside were copies of financial records, shady job histories, and even a few legal complaints against my stepfather from years ago. I looked up at my uncle. "Where the hell did you get all this?" Uncle Rick grinned. "Let's just say I've been keeping an eye on that scumbag since the day your mom married him. He's got a history of mooching off women, moving into their homes, and then trying to take control. You're not the first person he's pulled this stunt on." Aunt Barbara leaned in. "That wrongful eviction lawsuit? Total bluff. He's done it before, but he's never actually won." I sat back, trying to process everything. This wasn't just some lazy loser. My stepfather was a professional leech. He found vulnerable women, moved in, drained them financially, and then acted like the victim when they tried to get rid of him. And now he was trying it with me. Uncle Rick tapped the folder. "We're about to make him regret that." The first thing we did was fire back at his lawsuit. Our lawyer filed a countersuit, proving that not only was he not a tenant, but that he had never contributed a single dime toward the house. On top of that, we had evidence that he had used my mother's credit cards to rack up thousands of dollars in debt, money that was never paid back. But that was just the beginning. Uncle Rick had another idea. "Your stepdad likes to play dirty, right? Let's see how he likes it when we play by his rules." That's when we leaked everything. We sent anonymous tips to local Facebook groups, community pages, and even my stepfather's old employers. The truth about him, his scams, his freeloading, his fake lawsuits, spread like wildfire. People he had screwed over in the past started commenting, sharing their own horror stories. It didn't take long before his name was everywhere. Then I got a message from someone I didn't expect, his ex-wife. "I heard what's happening. Call me. I have something you'll want to hear." I didn't know what she had to say, but I had a feeling this was about to take an even crazier turn. I stared at the message from his ex-wife, my heart racing. I didn't even know much about her. My mother never talked about my stepfather's past relationships. But if she was reaching out now, it had to be important. I called her. "Charles?" Her voice was sharp, direct. "I don't have a lot of time, so listen carefully." I gripped my phone tighter. "Okay. I was married to that man for 5 years. He did the same thing to me that he's doing to your mom. Moved into my house, manipulated me, and then tried to take everything when I finally had enough." I exhaled. "Yeah, that sounds familiar," she continued. "He doesn't just freeload. He destroys the people he leeches off. After I kicked him out, he spread rumors about me, told people I cheated, even tried to turn my own friends against me. He's dangerous, Charles. Not physically, but he knows how to ruin people's lives. I felt my stomach tighten. He's already trying, I figured. But listen, I have proof of what he did to me. Legal records, old police reports, even a restraining order I had to file against him. If you need it, I'll send it. I was stunned. You'd do that? Absolutely. That man doesn't deserve another chance to ruin someone's life. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed with multiple emails, documents, court filings, and even screenshots of old messages where he had threatened her after she left him. I immediately forwarded everything to Uncle Rick. When he saw the restraining order, he whistled. Well, looks like your mom really married a winner. I ran a hand over my face. This has to be enough to get them out, right? Uncle Rick grinned. Oh, kid, we're way past just getting them out. We're about to bury them. That same day, our lawyer filed an official eviction notice, with the legal proof that my stepfather had a history of pulling this exact scam. The judge fast-tracked the case. In 3 days, they'd be legally removed from my house. But before that could happen, my mother showed up at Uncle Rick's house. I wasn't expecting it. 1 minute, I was in the kitchen, and the next, I heard loud knocking at the front door. Aunt Barbara opened it, and there she was. She looked furious. Where is he? Uncle Rick stepped in front of me. You're not welcome here. She glared past him, locking eyes with me. You think you've won? You're ruining everything. You're tearing this family apart. I clenched my jaw. No, Mom. You did that when you chose him over me. For the first time, she hesitated. I saw something flicker in her eyes, doubt, maybe even regret. But it was too late for that. Then she said something that caught me completely off guard. If you do this, you'll never see me again. It was meant to be a threat, but I just looked at her and said, Then I guess this is goodbye. She stared at me, like she couldn't believe I actually said it. Then, without another word, she turned and walked away. 3 days later, my stepfather, my mother, and my half-sister were thrown out of my house. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. Because after they left, my stepfather tried one last move. And this time, he made a huge mistake. The night before they were to leave, Uncle Rick got a call from one of his buddies, a retired cop who still had connections. You might want to check the house before you go back in, he said. That set off alarm bells. The next morning, Uncle Rick and I showed up at my house, and the moment we walked in, I knew something was wrong. They had trashed the place. Furniture overturned, walls covered in spray paint, broken glass everywhere. They even threw food on the carpets and knocked over bookshelves. My bedroom? Completely ransacked. Clothes torn, my mattress slashed, and every single picture of my dad? Gone. My hands clenched into fists. They did this on purpose. Aunt Barbara, who had come with us, looked around in disgust. This is pure spite. But the worst part? The smell of gasoline. My stomach sank. We rushed to the kitchen and found a pile of gas-soaked rags near the stove. They had planned to burn the house down. Uncle Rick didn't say a word, he just pulled out his cell phone and called the police. It didn't take long for the officers to arrive. When they saw the damage, they immediately opened an investigation. And here's where my stepfather really screwed himself. He was stupid enough to brag about it. Apparently, the idiot had texted a friend about how he got even, and how Charles won't be enjoying his house for long. That text, along with security footage from a neighbor's camera showing them hauling cans of gasoline the night before, was all the evidence the cops needed. My stepfather was arrested for attempted arson and vandalism. And my mother? She actually defended him at first. She called me crying and said I was ruining his life. I didn't feel bad. Not even a little. A few weeks later, the trial was over. My stepfather took a plea bargain to avoid serious jail time, but he had to pay every single cent in restitution. Since he had no money, Guess who ended up footing the bill? My mom. They lost everything. My stepfather's parents refused to take them in after they heard what happened, and my half-sister had to drop out of college because they couldn't afford the tuition. As for me, I repaired the house with the help of Uncle Rick and Aunt Barbara. It took time, but eventually it started to feel like my place again. Not a place haunted by bad memories, but a fresh start. And my mother? She never reached out again. She made her choice. And so did I. I chose me.